Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do a reading for the 2020 collective of what's going to be going down in 2020. I have done this already. I did this reading yesterday, but it didn't upload because there wasn't enough space, it cut out. So I've decided that I'm going to do it in two halves instead, because trying to do the whole thing took over 2 hours of reading. So that's a lot of recording and also a lot of trying to upload. 2 hours. My phone didn't like it and YouTube just kept cutting out, and so I thought, right, okay, we'll have to redo it. I actually laid the cards out. They have been sitting here on this table since since New Year's Eve. So they've been there for quite some time, and like I said, I did try to do the reading yesterday, and I've also been kind of looking into the astrology as well, which I'd like to start this reading off with a little bit of astrology, because I think the astrology is going to be incredibly important in 2020. And I'd also like to say that personally, because it's going to be a number 4, I think this is going to be a tough year, because 4 is about building foundations, so there's a lot of work that needs to go into this year, but also because 4s are a difficult aspect in astrology when it comes to squares, which is basically what a 4 is. It's a square, so it kind of has this very kind of rigid, difficult energy about it. And because it's 2020, 2 and 2 being 4, it's going to be the energy of the whole year. So it's not really until we get into the following year where things are going to really start to shift. But this year is the kind of beginning of the beginning, I like to call it. It's kind of the it's where things really start to get shaken up and moved on, and in Capricorn especially, with all this stuff that's coming up so very soon now. I mean, we are so close to the conjunction point between Saturn and Pluto, and Mercury as well is going to be there, that it's kind of, you know, we're all feeling it. We're all already feeling it, and we have already been feeling it really since we had the eclipse on the 26th of December in the Northern Hemisphere. I think in the Southern Hemisphere it was the 25th of December, so kind of really interesting dates for that to be happening as well. And of course we have another lunar eclipse happening on the 10th of January, which is 2 days before this major conjunction is happening. So this year there is going to be 3 major big events that are going to occur, which are going to have a real kind of long-lasting knock-on effect, I would say. I've been saying really that it's been a long time coming, this conjunction, and though it's only going to happen once, it's going to be a long time lasting as well, as we see major things shift that we haven't seen shift for hundreds of years, because this kind of alignment of everything that's in Capricorn goes way back. The last time all of these planets together that are now lining up in Capricorn were in Capricorn was back in 1285. So that is major period of time, major history. And just Saturn and Pluto together in Capricorn, the last time the two of them met up together was back in 1517, I believe. It was 1500s. So there's a lot going down, and also the 1700s as well. The last time Pluto and Saturn met up recently was back in the early 80s, about 82 I think it was. So any kind of thing that was happening at that point of time in your life, if you were alive and able to remember what was going on in your life in 1982, it's kind of maybe showing back up again now in certain kind of echoes, shall we say, echoes of what went down previously for you. So the first, as I've been saying, the first major event is this Saturn-Pluto-Mercury conjunction, which is happening on the 12th of January. And 2 days before then we have the eclipse. So the second major event is going to be Mars, which is going to Mars in Capricorn, because Mars by then will have moved through Sagittarius. Mars has just moved into Sagittarius, and Mars is feeling a little bit lonely. It's almost like he's been left out of the party, because all of these planets are meeting up and Mars isn't going to be part of it. But Mars eventually will join Capricorn, and he will conjunct Jupiter and Pluto, and this is going to happen in March. So round about the equinox, the 19th of March, right up until the solstice, there's going to, sorry, the 31st of March, so from the solstice right up until the end of March, there is going to be this kind of very explosive energy as Mars goes over the top of Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. So all three of those signs are going to be hit by Mars, and Mars is a great activator. Mars is the god of war. Mars is dynamic energy. Mars wants to make things happen, get things done. He wants to move, he wants to shake things up, he wants to really kind of, like he's saying, like, come on guys, you know, come on, let's really. And he's kind of probably a bit fed up as well, because like I say, he's been out on his own for a bit of time now, so he's kind of really kind of wanting to get something happening, because he's not really had any major role to play for quite some time. He's kind of not really been part of this not just this event in January, but previously to that as well, he's been kind of left out. So it's going to be an energy of radical action and also change as well. It's going to be major shifts and major changes. And it is kind of a, I would say, a kind of knock-on effect to what's happening in January as well. Kind of almost like a second clearing, shall we say, a reactivation of whatever happened with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It's not just going to be that and that's it, it's over. This is something that's going to be constantly being hit and being kind of brought back up, and things are going to kind of really keep just going bang, 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 right the way through 2020. And the third major event that's going to happen in 2020 is the new moon in Libra on the 16th of October, when we're going to have Sun and Moon opposing Mars, because by then Mars has made it round to his own sign. So he is happily in Aries, in his home sign. And I do believe he's also going to be retrograde as well at that time, because Mars goes retrograde at the end of June, I think it is. Mars goes retrograde at the end of June, and he stays retrograde for 26 weeks. So more or less right up until the end of the year, we will have a retrograde Mars in Aries, which is going to be an interesting energy as well. So on that day, on the day of the new moon, where you've got the moon and the sun are conjunct in Libra, you've also got Mars making squares to Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto, especially Pluto. And this is a very volatile energy, and I believe it's an energy that could be happening. I think it's 3 times that those energies are going to meet each other. Mars is going to square up to Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto 3 times. I think that is the last one of the year, and because it's also a new moon, it's opposing Mars, it's going to be the most kind of dangerous, shall we say, risky, volatile, explosive kind of energy out of the 3 times that he's going to meet up with these planets or square up with these planets. And so for a quick rundown, in January, this conjunction is really beginning to start, and we're going to really start feeling it from the 7th onwards. And there are other things that are happening around this time as well. Jupiter is also going to be conjuncting the South Node as well. So there's going to be a feeling of kind of really having to let go of the past. Really kind of, in fact, I heard somebody say it today as like the past is going to let go of us rather than us letting go of the past. It's like we're going to be released, finally released from whatever it is that has been holding us back. But there is such huge history involved in this that it's going to be a very interesting year. The whole year is going to be very interesting. So February, we have Jupiter and Pluto conjunct at the end of February. Jupiter, Pluto conjunct at the same time. They're going to be sextiling over to Neptune in Pisces as well. So that's going to be an interesting energy. Jupiter and Pluto are brothers, so they kind of have the same background history, shall we say, from a mythological point of view, from where they both came from. They were both eaten by their father, Saturn, also known as Kronos, and were kept in the dark in his belly for quite some time. And Jupiter and Pluto are also, interestingly enough, the biggest and the smallest planet. So they also have kind of a lot in common in the sense that they're also equal and opposites. So their energies are equal because Pluto is the most powerful. Although it's the smallest of all the planets, it is actually the most powerful. It is known as kind of the destroyer. So it has that ability of being really powerful and clearing things out. But Jupiter has the opposite energy of kind of making things expand and making things seem bigger and kind of more bountiful. So they're both going to be sextiling over to Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is very much about your kind of illusional kind of world, also to do with media as well. So personally, I think that the media is going to play quite a huge role in a lot of this year. There's going to be a lot of interesting things that come out from the media, and a lot of interesting things that are going to be found out about the media. The media are going to be put in the spotlight, I think, and probably are not going to come up in a particularly good light. So that's another reason why I think it's going to be an interesting year. March, we have, as I was saying earlier, we have that Mars conjuncting Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn energy from the 19th to the 31st of March. So that's going to be quite long lasting as well. April, Jupiter conjuncts Pluto again on the 5th. May, we seem to get a break. We don't really seem to have many large aspects to worry about or transits to worry about there. In June, we've got Jupiter, which is now retrograde, conjuncting Pluto, and Mars in Aries is also going to be squaring. So Jupiter retrograde in July. So this kind of goes through from June, from the end of June through into July, where Jupiter retrograde is going to also be sextiling Neptune at the same time as Mars. Over the first 3 weeks of August as well is going to be squaring Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto. So that whole kind of period of time, there's so much going on. It's almost like one thing and then the next and then the next. It's like bang, bang, bang. kind of no rest, no respite, no let up. It's just a constant change of energies, just things kind of being revealed and endings and kind of trying to make new beginnings. And so September brings us around to Mars retrograde still, which again is going to square Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto in late September. And I think that is going to be... No, we've also got that happening again in October. So October, early to mid-October is when we have the new moon as well. So that again is another square with Jupiter and Saturn at the same time opposing Mars. So that's a very volatile time, as I was saying earlier. November, we have Jupiter conjuncting Pluto on the 12th, and that is the last time that Jupiter is going to conjunct Pluto, because after that Jupiter is going to move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius eventually. Pluto will still be there. Pluto is going to be staying in Aquarius for the year. And on December the 21st, on the solstice in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice, in the southern hemisphere it's going to be your summer solstice, Jupiter and Saturn are going to meet up for the first time at 0 degrees or 1 degree of Aquarius. So that's how we're going to end the year, is with quite a major change, and again a major shift as we come out of the Capricornian energy really, and we start really kind of seeing things shift into the Aquarian kind of energy. Venus has already been in Aquarius for quite some time, and she's kind of leading the light brigade. She's kind of ahead, charging ahead and kind of pulling everybody else with her in a way. But interestingly enough, Venus in Aquarius is very much about the collective and the kind of innovative. It's kind of love for all, really. It's kind of seeing things in a more expansive kind of the individual within the collective. So it's kind of seeing that we are all individuals, but as individuals we all make up one whole. That's really what the Aquarian energy is about, and we are going to be moving into this very Aquarian kind of energy period of time over the next 4 years or so, which is really what the 2020 year for me is really about, moving out of that old energy, moving out of the Piscean age even, but it has been very Capricornian energies that are kind of shifting us forward into this age of Aquarius, because the ages always move backwards. If you don't know much about the ages, I suggest that you kind of go and look up the what's it called, the shift of the ages. You'll find things online about it. It's a very interesting, very ancient knowledge of how we move every 2,000 years or so. We move from one major sign into the next sign, and we're coming out of the Piscean age and shifting into the Aquarian age, which really kind of became more, people started to become more aware of that in the 60s, when they were kind of, the age of Aquarius is coming. And the age of Aquarius is absolutely coming, because the energy that we are shifting into is much more Aquarian, especially as we get to the end of the year with this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction right at the very beginning of that energy of the Aquarius. So that's the kind of astrology part out of the way. And I'm going to start the reading here with this card, the Hangman. Oh, before I do start, I would just say that I've laid the cards out in a clock. So there's 12 positions, one for each month, but each of the positions, or each month, has got 3 cards of all the cards that I use in my normal tarot deck readings. My normal readings, I'm using the same decks. I was just going to do 2 cards, like a major and a minor arcana, but while I was doing the shuffling and setting them out, I was told to do 1 of each card from each deck, so each of the months got 3 cards on it. And the reason that I decided to use more than 1 deck was because I wanted to be able to have the same energies come out again, rather than just have the specific energies for just that, from just that deck of cards, that 1 deck of cards. So it means that I could get 2 of the same cards using different decks. I hope you understand what I mean by that. Waffling on there. But anyway, the first card, the Hangman, is saying to me that we are all kind of waiting in this state of limbo. We all kind of know that something is coming. We're all kind of aware of the sacrifices that we've had to make over the last 2 years or so. Things that we've had to walk away from, things that we've had to just kind of let go. But at the same time, we haven't really completely, I wouldn't say completely let go, but there's a kind of transformational energy in this card as well, because it's like seeing things from a different perspective. It's kind of surrender, it's sacrificial, kind of, in the sense of you have to let things go in order for something else to move in and take its place. And if we don't learn to let things go, if we don't learn to give ourselves that space, if you like, for something new to move in, then it will just be taken from us anyway. It will just happen because it's meant to happen. And this, of course, is also talking about generational. This is talking about individual. This is also talking about globally, collectively, where we are now. We are all kind of feeling as though we're hanging on this thread here. You can see this thread. He's got this kind of, he's attached with this thread. But to me, this thread kind of also represents the bigger energies, shall we say, the kind of divine energies, even the kind of astrological energies that we're all kind of connected to from birth, from when we're first born, from the first breath that we take. Astrology is such a precise art that you will always know where a planet is going to be in your chart. So there is kind of this connection, even though we may be here in the physical 3D, there's a kind of feeling that we're still always attached to something else, that we can't deny that. We can't completely detach ourselves from that while we are here in the physical 3D. But all we can do, or what we can do, and what is sometimes best for us to do, is to give up, in the sense of stop trying to force a situation, stop trying to make something happen before the time's ready for it to happen, and kind of just release and just say, okay, I give over to something bigger and greater, the control of my destiny, in the sense that that we are on a larger scale, our destiny. I wouldn't say it's fated or predestined as such, because whenever something happens, it's up to us how we react, and we always have free will. But at the same time, there is always this kind of recognition that we are not completely in control. Although we do like to believe we are, and we do like to kind of disconnect ourselves from this. So the energy that came out with this card is the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles for me is always about self-esteem. It's always about us realizing that we ourselves are responsible for where we're at in our lives. And one of the main messages for me about the Nine of Pentacles is about looking back and seeing how far we've come. And also about congratulating ourselves for the fact that we ourselves are the people or the person who has got us to where we are. Because although other people can give us advice, although we can learn from other people, nobody else can do it for us. It truly is only up to us. It is us and us alone that have that that free will to do it or not to do it. And there's also, if you look at this card, there's also quite a few butterflies here as well. So there is, I feel, a transformational element within this as well. Within this card here, there is a transformation taking place here. He also has kind of these, what look to me kind of like butterfly type wings as well. So he's kind of transforming as he's hanging there, as he's giving himself over to a bigger energy, which I think is what's going to happen. I think we're going to realize that we kind of, you know, we are going to have to allow the energies that are coming in to take us to where we need to go by kind of releasing our personal, I suppose, desires, our personal wants, our personal feelings about things, and seeing it from a higher viewpoint, from a greater good, for a higher vantage point. I don't know whether, as a kid, I mean, I used to do this a lot as a kid. I used to hang upside down all the time. I used to love being upside down. I would hang off of sofas, off of climbing frames, off of trees, all sorts of things. I would just love to be upside down and view the world from a completely different perspective. I used to watch TV like that and all sorts. So it kind of gave me a completely different way of looking at the world, which I think somehow has kind of helped me to do what I do now as well. So there is this element here of kind of everything being turned upside down as well. And as it gets turned upside down, we have to realise that we are part of that. It is a part of us. We are a part of it. And kind of go with that transformative energy that is going to come in. And recognise our self-worth. Recognise that we have just as much right to be here as everybody else or anybody else. But the energy that came in along with that energy here, and I think that this is quite crucial as well, is that the Five of Pentacles is saying to me there is going to be a lot of walking away from things that so far we believe we have to, should do, must do in order to achieve what we want to achieve. In this card, this kind of represents, this house here represents symbolically things that are near and dear to us, things that have kind of maybe taken care of us, or you know, it can be a workplace, it can be a home. But in this card, he's walking away from this with the Five of Pentacles, and it's having to be done. It's been done in a kind of, I do hesitate to say underhand fashion, But I kind of get the feeling that this is, there's going to be a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of kind of people trying to move away from what they have established. Because this is about stability and establishment, but it's also walking away. And the reason he's walking away is because he's outgrown it in many ways. It's kind of holding him back. It's kind of stopping him from being able to move forward. And I think this globally, historically, shall we say, kind of represents our past, our history, the things, our generational stories, the things that we tell each other as family, as kind of, you know, education at schools and all this kind of thing, that the things that we are led to believe are written in stone in many ways, and are just kind of repeated over and over again, and we just keep reliving it over and over again because we believe that that's how it is. But this card is saying that there is more out there. There is more to our story. There is more to who we are. And kind of here he's kind of shrouded himself in this kind of cloak, this rag, this kind of old piece of material to hide who he is underneath. And I think that's symbolic as well. I think there's been a lot of hiding our true history, a lot of hiding who we really are, and that there is so much more to us, so much more than what we've been led to believe so far. And I think that these kind of energies are going to become much more apparent in this year, throughout the whole of 2020. In February, as we move into February, we have the High Priestess, which is all about kind of going within and going down into the depths, very intuitive. And this is kind of asking us to look at our inner realm, if you like, our inner realm. What are the kind of stories, again, that we keep telling ourselves? What are the repetitions with these two towers here, these two columns? It's almost like the duality, the 3D realm, the kind of fixed way that we look at things. And here, Persephone is going down into the world of Hades, Pluto. And she's very innocent. There's a real innocence about this card. If you look at her, she's very kind of innocent and very open, dressed all in white, which is very pure as well. There's a purity about her. And so it's almost like being asked to go back to that time in our own lives before all of the darkness descended, shall we say. But I do feel as though this is kind of asking us to look at our inner realm, because this is about questions. This is where we are going to find our answers. It's not going to be out here. This is not the answer. Everything that they want us to believe about, how can I put it, about how the 3D realm is and how it can be manipulated and controlled. This is about finding your own inner world, your own intuition, your own instincts, understanding yourself. And I think there's going to be a lot of it's going on in February, after what happens in January, which is going to be a lot of chaos. There's going to be a need for us to start looking within and questioning, who are we? Who are we? And the card that came out with the High Priestess is the Page of Air. Unfortunately, it's upside down. So for me, it's saying that the energy here, we are not ready. We are not ready. And it is very similar to this card here as well. There's a real similarity. If you look here, upside down, and he's kind of wings, if you like. I like to see those as kind of wings. And here as well, it's like she's not ready to fly, but I get the feeling also that there's a revealing here, or almost like we start revealing things to ourselves that we may have kept hidden, things that we didn't necessarily want to recognize or acknowledge, or because of the High Priestess, it's almost like we're being made to acknowledge this side of ourselves, that there is so much more to us. Like if this was up the right way, this would be saying to me that this is about revealing who you are, and it's almost like you realize how magnificent you are and how incredible, and how there's so much more to you, and that you know, it's like unfolding these wings and realizing that you are so much more than just this human being here. But again, I mean, this is metaphorical. This is symbolic, and for me it's about flying. It's a kind of like, you know, your freedom. If you can fly, you have freedom. You can go anywhere. And the Page of Air energy is about questioning. It is about seeking answers. It's about wanting to know. But I think that in February it's going to be very much about us wanting to know more about us, about ourselves, about the individual as well as the collective us, in the sense of I just feel there's a deeper energy at play here. There's a deeper, something working on a deeper level. An awakening. But the awakening is happening within, and it's not ready to be shown to the world yet. And it may not be ready to be shown to the world until 2021. Maybe even beyond that, but there is a kind of healing taking place here as well, as we question, who are we individually? Because the card that's also come out with this is the Page of Cups, and for me the Page of Cups is about healing. It is about the energy of nurturing ourselves. It's about finding love from within in order to be able to become this eventually. In order to be able to have the confidence. And I think that's what we lack at the moment, is we lack the confidence to say, this is who I am. Look how magnificent I am. You didn't realise I had all these other parts of me, did you? I didn't realise I had all these other parts of me either. I think that's the kind of reason that it's upside down. It's because we're still finding out about this. But the Page of Cups is going to give us that kind of awareness of healing and allowing something to change, because I think there's going to be a lot revealed as well with this High Priestess here, about what has been taking place in the world, because she is a major arcana card as well. And so this King of Cups is kind of bringing forth this energy of self-nurture, loving the self again, loving what's being revealed, loving those parts of ourselves that we maybe have kept hidden, that we ourselves are scared to recognize within us, that we don't necessarily want to own as part of who we are. But to become a whole individual, we have to realize that it's okay. It's okay to have all those different parts. It's okay, you know, we are not just one-dimensional. We are many-dimensional beings. And I think that's kind of a message that's going to be getting stronger and stronger as we move further and further into 2020. That 3D one-dimensionality kind of, you know, you are this or you are that kind of thing. It's like, no, I am so much more than that. I have so many different levels to me. I have so many different, if you think of all the facets of a diamond and how a diamond shines in the light, it's like, I kind of feel that that's where it's going, that's where it's heading. It's going to take a bit of time, but that's where it's kind of getting towards, where people are going to realise that we have all these different like facets, different kind of sides to our personalities, and that there is so much more to who and what we are. And as we move into March, we have the energy of the Magician, which is very interesting energy, because March is very much about the spring. It's about new things. It's about things coming to life. It's about kind of growth and experience, new experiences. But also with the card of the Magician, it's about manifesting. And I think this is part of what we are all going to start realizing, is that we are major manifestors, because that's another part of the Capricorn energy as well, is mastery. It's becoming masters over our own destiny, in the sense of we will start to realize that what we kind of believe is what we are going to keep bringing into our reality. The stories, again, the stories. Maybe that's because Mercury's also going to be conjuncting Saturn and Pluto as well. So there is a sense of like our communication and our stories have always been a major part of who we are as well. So I feel that the stories are very much a part of this whole learning process, if you like, realizing that that what we're putting out there is what we are getting back. And that's kind of what the Hangman is saying to me as well, is kind of what we put out there. Because of this cord here, because of this kind of attachment, it's almost like an umbilical cord, if you like, being fed by the universe. It works both ways. So, you know, the universe will bring it into us because we are kind of sending it out there, if you like. We're manifesting that into our reality. And I think that's kind of something that we're going to start realizing as well, as we break the bonds of the history that we have been through since 1285 and 17 whenever. So, you know, or 1500s, I believe it was. Yeah, it was 1517, the last time that Saturn and Pluto met in Capricorn. Which, interestingly enough, was also around about the time when the Roman Catholic Church kind of really started to clamp down on things as well. and also about the time of Martin Luther, who nailed his I can't think of the word now, brain's gone completely dead, but he nailed his kind of it was when the Protestant church, let's say, first came into being. I suppose it was his kind of dislikes of the Roman Catholic Church and the things that he disagreed with in the Roman Catholic setup, and it kind of created the discord that happened, and everything that came along with that, with the dissolution of the monasteries in the UK or in England, and the kind of breaking away, or the seemingly breaking away from the Catholic Church. But that's another story altogether. But that's what I think that this is about. It is all about our stories. It's all about our history. It's all about really kind of releasing ourselves from those bonds. And I think as we kind of learn more about how we create our reality, there's going to be a quickening. There's going to be things that are going to start speeding up and really kind of moving forward fast. It's almost like a collective awakening in that sense of like realizing that we really are responsible for our reality. In general, our reality, what we are thinking, is what we create on a smaller scale and globally, and you know, maybe even universally as well. And the card that came out along with this is the 9 of Fire, and I love this card, the 9 of Fire in this deck. Absolutely beautiful, and it's all about transformation. Again, it reminds me very much of the Magician energy here, where he's got all his tools prepared and ready, and he's kind of bringing it down into the realm of the physical. The pentacle here for me always represents that kind of physical realm that he works within, and he works with his creativity and his emotions and his mind as well. So he's got all the tools there. And in this card, usually this card is about struggle, it's about strife, it's about kind of things being really hard and wanting to give up in some ways and just let it go. But in this card, to me, I see a transformational energy here. I see an energy of kind of suddenly realizing that things don't have to be always as they appear. That there's more, you know, that we see things as solid, but they're not really. It's all just energy. And energy in itself is something that can change and reform, and it does. But because we don't kind of recognize that, we kind of miss that. And we call it, you know, why we have magicians in the sense of calling it magic. But really, that is all just illusion. The real magic is when we kind of call it in and create and manifest our reality. That's really what this card is saying to me, because here, these stars that she's holding here and kind of playing with, she's transforming them into these little light beings, these little like firelights here. But also it can work the other way as well. So these could also be kind of going back the way and transforming into these beautiful stars and starlight. So it kind of says to me that there's kind of, you know, it works both ways. It kind of maybe also represents, you know, our birth and our death. It's like it's the same thing. It doesn't make any difference one way or the other. You know, as we come into the world or as we go out of the world, it's all the same place. It's all the same it's all the same energy, creation of energy that transforms. And if you know anything about quantum physics and quantum energy, it's like energy never disappears. It never stops. It's kind of, you know, it's energy's always there. And I kind of feel that this is kind of us realizing again that we are so much more than what we've been told or led to believe because of our history and because of the things that we're going to have to work through. And as we move into April, we have here the Chariot, but it's in reverse. And this is all about imbalance. This is all about kind of things, our head and our hearts not meeting, not connecting, not kind of finding that center, that sense of balance and that sense of, it's almost like, you know, these two horses who are very representative of me for freedom. They represent freedom. When you have your free will and your free, your free will and choice, then things can be in balance and we can actually make decisions from a place of our heart and our logic, if you like. And this is about, for me, walking the middle path, or kind of finding that middle path, finding that balance between the two, the head and the heart, not being overreactive or underreactive, not kind of, you know, not letting our emotions override our sense of logic and what kind of makes sense to us, and not allowing our logic to kind of refuse to listen to our emotional feelings, our instincts on things as well. But because it's in reverse, I feel as though there's going to be a period of time when we're going to be very out of balance and very unable to make sense of things, either logically or emotionally, as we move forward in 2020. I feel that there is going to be this energy of a lot of chaos, and us maybe feeling that we haven't, because the Six of Wands came out with this as well, maybe we're going to be feeling that we haven't found the victory that we thought we were going to find, or the sense of being kind of victorious over something. This can also, for me, represent the kind of haves and the have-nots as well, shall we say, you know, the kind of those in positions of power who kind of rule over those of us who they believe they have the right to do so. And this again is a very questioning kind of energy of trying to find that balance. You know, it's kind of trying to reassess and reevaluate. And there could be a time where there's going to be a lot more governance coming in, where those that have the power are going to really kind of try and hold on to it and not allow victory, not allow us to see ourselves in a victorious place, and to try and keep us down and to try and keep us, because I think there's going to be a lot of uprising and a lot of turmoil, shall we say, amongst all the chaos that's also going to be going on. But this card came out with these two, which is totally about love. And yesterday when I did my reading, I was told, it was in my head and I kept like thinking it, but I didn't say it, and I was kind of told, go on, say it, you have to say it. And I get this quite a lot, and I kind of hold back on things sometimes, and I kind of think, no, I can't say that. So what I was told to say yesterday was that this card is about the power of love. Literally, individually, finding that cup and filling it up for ourselves, which is also this page here as well, this continuation. But also about a new sense of love coming in, a new idea of love being there for us. Don't forget Venus, which is Aphrodite here, has literally worked her way through Aquarius. She leaves Aquarius in on 13th of January, I think she's leaving. So quite soon. So she's zipped through, because she's quite fast moving at the moment, is Venus. She's kind of really, I feel, on a mission. Really has got this mission going on. So I'm not quite sure where Venus is going to be in April. She might well be in Pisces or even joining Aries by that point in time. But I get this really strong feeling that this is what this is about. All this here, this kind of over control, and I think that's what this is about. Over control, being over controlled, being really kind of restricted again, and kind of stopped from being able to do what we want to do, because you've got to remember that kind of April we're going to be experiencing, or in March, you know, we've got all the really explosive energies with Mars conjuncting Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn. So this could also be a knock-on effect from that as well. But what we are going to kind of realize as we come out of this chaos and out of these kind of, I think, is really that, you know, the power of love is the thing that is going to hold us all together. It's going to hold us together. It's for the collective. This is about us really kind of looking at each other in a new way, and not wanting to keep on, you know, arguing, repeating the same stories. This is about finding something new, a new outlook on love, a new way of relating to love. This can also be individually, but I feel quite strongly that this is also globally, collectively. And we're going to start realizing that that is what is going to really move us through all of this. And then as we move into May, we have the Fool leaping off the cliff, this trusting innocence. And he's come out of his cave, which for me is kind of representation of our history, of our story. It's the womb, it's the kind of continuous I suppose kind of continuous lineage of history that we've all been told and all been kind of just brought up with time and time again, over and over again. The kind of, you know, the religion, you know, from the moment you're born, you're kind of born into something, you become something, whether that, you know, it's that same story that we repeat over and over again. And we have this kind of feeling that we have to do it because our parents did it, or because our grandparents did it. And I think that that's playing a part in this as well, is this kind of need to walk away from those stories, that need to walk away from, it's like, okay, but that doesn't mean that I have to do it as well. It means, you know, I can do something different. I can trust that my life is going to have a different outcome, a different story. And the eagle here for me kind of represents the ability to rise above and to kind of look down and see the bigger picture, which is basically what he's needing to do here. And we've got the sun rising in the background as well. Quite interesting. He's about to leap off into a new day, a new dawn, a new beginning. And this is happening in May. So again, it's still very new energy in May. It's very kind of, you know, spring-like, and things are growing and budding, and we're learning, and that's what I get the feeling of here. This is, the Fool is always trusting his instincts. It's being told, trust your instincts, trust what you feel, trust what, he may be about to jump off this cliff, but he's doing so because after being in this cave here, He's come out of this cliff, out of this cave, sorry, and he kind of realizes that he is on the edge of this cliff. And that the way he got up here, he can't go back down the way, because he will just literally repeat the same story. He will just literally go back into his past and just relive his past again. So he needs to leap forwards. He needs to trust in a bigger energy, in a bigger, and that's what this is about here. This is about us learning to really kind of connect with that bigger story, connect with that bigger energy, that divine source, and to move beyond our past and our history. And that's what, for me, the Fool is saying here. And the card that came out with this is the Two of Cups, the Two of Water. And I get the feeling that this is about kind of realising that we're all swimming in the same pond. Although there's only two here, it's kind of, it says to me that this is about kind of, you know, we're all in the same pond. We're all small fish, shall we say, in a very large ocean. And that we all have to kind of connect. Being water, it is all very intuitive energy as well. It is very kind of, it's the psychic intuitive realm, the inner realm again. So we're kind of leaping off this cliff. And we're kind of going into this kind of energy of connecting with others. That's how I feel. This could also be kind of seen as a Pisces card as well, with the two fish as well. And we have, at the moment, we have Neptune, of course, in Pisces, which is still going to be there for quite a while yet. And so this could also be about kind of leaping into a new dream, into a new our dreams, but in the sense of them becoming a reality, in the sense of the things that we really want to occur for us as a collective, not just individually, but also as a collective. And the card that we got that came out with this is the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands can often be seen as a player, particularly when he's upside down. But there's also an element with the Knight of Wands of him wanting to experience everything. He wants to experience as much as he can. It's a very creative energy, and it's like he needs to feed that creative side of himself. And I feel that that's what this card is kind of saying to us, that we can't allow others to restrict or to stop our creative energy. We have to allow each other to experience everything that we need to experience. Even if that's going to be a painful situation, we can't stop somebody from experiencing something, because we can, by doing so, actually put a blockage in, shall we say, on their own path, life's lessons, and their karma, and whatever it is that they need to experience. Because you can only ever really learn, and we only ever learn our lessons through experience, through actually going through a situation. And as much as we might want to protect somebody and keep them safe, there is a need here to let this go, let this happen, let this, to jump off that cliff and to experience, whether that's love or a creative endeavour. Even though love is a creative endeavour, there's a kind of realisation that that is also part of the story that we need to change is to stop trying to control each other, to stop restricting. And that's very much what we are kind of trying to move away from. And so the last 3 cards that I'm going to read for now in June, because I am going to do this in 2 halves, otherwise it will just upset my phone and YouTube. But the last energy we're moving into in June is this Tower. And this Tower moment for me is kind of recognizing this restriction. It's recognizing that we have kind of stopped ourselves from being able to experience things. We have allowed others, because if you go back to kind of the 1200s, 1285 really was a time of serfdom. It was when, you know, we were controlled by the nobles and the you know, those who had basically stolen the land and said, oh, you know, we own this, this is ours, due to our family name and our, you know, the fact that we have all this wealth that we've gone and stolen from other people in the first place. But now we actually have it. So there is this kind of, for me, this 1285 period of time I feel is very relevant with all these 5 planets lining up in Capricorn, because it's kind of saying that that serfdom that we have lived in for so long that has restricted us from experiencing what we should really be experiencing, because we've had so many rules and regulations and lack of, and you know, the few have much and the many have less. It has literally stopped us from being able to experience our lives in a complete and fulfilling manner, because we have become so restricted by money for a start, you know, whether or not we can enter a country, all those kind of things have kind of put restrictions in place for us, because we have been controlled by this very dark and very negative energy for a very long time. And that, I feel, is what needs to be released here. You can see this here. I feel that that is kind of the explosion, the kind of release of our past. And this is happening in June, which is when Jupiter is retrograde and conjuncts Pluto. So again, this is an ongoing thing. This is not just something that's just a one-off situation. Although the Saturn and Pluto conjunction is only going to happen once, it's still going to have constant like aspects taking place with all those planets. It's not just like once and that's it. It's done. This is ongoing. We're going to feel this right the way through 2020. We're going to see so many huge shifts and changes throughout 2020. And again, this energy here is what's come out with this Tower. And this energy for me is talking about having to stand our ground and fight, in the sense of maybe not literally going to war, although there could be aspects of that as well. But I feel this is more about us kind of realizing that if we are going to make change, if we're going to get out of this situation of being held in bondage in many ways and kind of being kept in our serfdom, because we allow it, because we just have kind of, we don't question it, we just, and there are many reasons for that, mostly because we probably would have been killed in the past. Can't quite get away with that so easily these days, although there are ways and means. But in the past, we certainly wouldn't have been able to stand up to this type of energy as easily as we can today. And we are seeing uprisings all over the world. All over the world. It's happening everywhere. It's not being spoken about on mainstream news, however, but these things are taking place, and if you go to the right sources, you will be able to find information on all of these kind of uprisings that are happening. And I feel that this is going to be something that is really going to become relevant, even more so. And especially since we have the page of Earth here. And I kind of feel that this character here, this individual here, who's kind of been, he is a, how can I put it? He is a kind of stereotype, shall we say. He's a stereotype of everything that we have been conditioned into believing is the way it is. And this is his kind of rude awakening to things, if you like. And as he falls from this tower, like a fallen angel, and there is history about that as well, going back to our history of what we're not being completely told. As he falls from the tower like a fallen angel, he falls into this energy here, which I think is very, this is a kind of very innocent kind of earth energy of pentacles, of kind of like, you know, he's very kind of connected, shall we say, to the physical realm, connected to the to nature. There's just a really strong feeling that that this is about us finding our innocence again, in the sense of playfulness, imagination, a kind of I just get the feeling of our history on the earth, our history, that this is kind of, there's again, because of the wings as well, we've got the wings thing happening. I still feel that there's quite a strong feeling of like, you know, but here his wings are actually open, and it's almost like he's ready to show who he is, or who we are, or to kind of yeah, to kind of just recognize this energy within us globally as well. I think this could also have quite a lot to do with the I don't want to use the words climate change, but I think there is a growing awareness, as we can see all over the planet, and which is another reason why there's kind of a big rise up at the moment, that there is going to be a lot more to do with this energy, with the earth, with the globe, with our connection, with our connection to Mother Earth. And that this is just a kind of new beginning. This is kind of us realizing how strongly we need that connection. That without that connection, we are nothing. Without that connection, we won't even exist. But I'm not personally saying that we are responsible for what's happening on this planet, because I don't believe that that is the case. That is just my personal opinion. I personally believe that it's because we are moving into another part of the universe, which is why the energies are also changing. New energies are coming into the planet that we haven't seen or been a part of before. There's a lot of change occurring. And I think that this is kind of an awareness, a growing awareness within us of our connection to it and to everything else. I think that's what these are about here as well. But everything else being beyond our earthly realm. Beyond our earthly realm. This kind of, yeah, this awakening. I think that's really what this card here is about. It's about an awakening to our connection to the universe, not just to the earth, but the part that the earth plays within the whole, within the universe, is much greater than what we have been told and what we have been led to believe. Since, especially, if we go back to 1285 again, and this card here, since especially when we kind of got dumbed down, shall we say, by serfdom, by being the servants of these people, which we still are, and kind of being controlled by religions and not being allowed to really connect with our own true nature. Our own true nature. I think that's very strong. It's coming through very strongly for me as well, is our own true nature. That we've been kept divided from that, collectively and individually even. So that is where I am going to leave this particular part of the reading. I will be doing part 2 as soon as. I may do it later today. I may have to wait and do it tomorrow. But I will be putting part 2 out there. I'd just like to say Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's a wee bit late, but it's still only the 3rd of January. So Happy New Year. I hope you had really great celebrations over the festive season and a good start to your new year. Also, thank you very much for subscribing, to those of you who have subscribed. Could you please like this video up, because it kind of gets it out there into the kind of bigger YouTube world. Also, could you subscribe to my channel if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, because I will be putting out part 2. And also I have other videos out there already that you may find of some interest. I will also be putting a astrological free link in the description box down below for anybody who might want to go and check out their own natal chart and see what's happening with these conjunctions that are going to be coming up and taking place, and where they may be taking place in your own chart, and natally how it's going to affect your own planets as well. Also, could you tap the bell just to kind of get the videos that I will be putting out in future as well, and to help me enormously to grow my channel in 2020, because that really is the aim of this for me, is to grow my channel and get messages out there that I feel are quite important and may not be getting put out into the kind of tarot world, shall we say. So thank you very much for watching, and I wish you all the best, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Take care.